Welcome along. That'll be my rider for the twin, taking the Mickey, and his team who are just... Right, carrying on. Welcome back to Obsession Engineering at TT24. Right, it is Sunday afternoon and it is the first of the big bike races in a couple of hours. There is a warm-up lap that is going in about 7 minutes and there have been a few things happen since the last TT update. The qualifying pace this year for the big bikes at TT has been very, very competitive. This is the fastest qualifying grid we've ever had here. And what I mean by that is the boys at the front are pretty much on lap record pace, but as they go through the field, the gaps are smaller than they've ever been. And so there are 50 starters for the main Superbike races. And for the first one today, unfortunately, Tom was 51st fastest. So unfortunately, Tom is not in for the first big bike race. Martin Morris, who's over the back there, he hasn't qualified either. He's a little bit off on pace against Tom. And the only one of the sort of, I suppose, bikes we're supporting here, Mark Parrott, is the last man on the road, and he qualified on a 121.4 mile an hour lap, which is not shabby by any stretch of the means. So Tom will be out in the Superstar races during the week, and if anybody sort of doesn't make it through to the senior with mechanicals or whatever, he can get a slot in the senior still. So he's going out and doing more laps on the BMW to get himself even more up to pace and basically get as many laps in as he can. So today is one warm-up lap and then a 6-lap Superbike race. And somehow I've talked myself into doing Mark Parrott's visor change. So that could go terribly wrong. Chris, you were just saying when the 2-minute bing bong went, how happy and relaxed you are at this point.
Yeah, I'm nervous before it's going out now. It's weird, yeah, being here and then before a bike goes on track, it's the nerves, I think. Once it's out there and the bike's going and you see him go, it's good, but yeah, the nerves beforehand, I think for a mechanic or anyone in the team's probably just as what the rider's feeling as well, just until he's gone. Yeah, not ideal. I'll be happy once he's on the bike and going.
Rob, you've just watched Martin disappear off down Glen Crutchery Road. Chilled and relaxed?
No, not at all, mate. Every time it gives you goosebumps when they set off. We've had a troubled qualifying week, so we've made some pretty big changes for today to see if we can get a set up. He's sort of saying that the bike feels like it's digging in at the front a lot and it's pitching, so we've lifted the front end up. We're going to see how he goes on this lap and hopefully he can get comfortable on it, and once he's comfortable he'll gain his confidence and he'll go quicker.
Alright, so a little bit of feedback from Martin at the end of his lap. The bike felt a little bit better, like was trying to snap the bars out of his hands a little bit less, but it's still not really comfortable with the way the front works over the bumps and stuff. So you know, there's a few little tweaks can be made to it yet. Basically, personally, I'd make it like a little bit softer on the spring and a little bit less preload, but then to not lose the geometry, you can come push the fork through a little bit more. So we've had a bit of a chat about it. Obviously, final decision is up to him because he's on riding it, but he will get a warm-up lap on Tuesday if he wants to try something. So, you know, there is an opportunity, it's not straight into the race with it. But that is practice lap done. I'm down with Mr. Parrott's bike, and his boys are already in pit lane filling up his fuel bowser. So I'm going to go and give him a hand, put my fireproof overalls on, but trust me, I'm very definitely not allowed to film in there because there's a lot of very flammable things going on. We're down to 25 minutes before race start. The pit lane is now closed, fuel bowsers are full. There is enough fuel in there to do 2 full pit stops because we're going to need it because the race is 225 point something miles long. So it's 2 laps in for a pit stop. It'll be basically 22, 23 litres of fuel going in, another 2 laps, another 22, 23 litres of fuel going in, and then the final 2 laps. The oddity with these races is the only time you actually get a flying lap is at the end of lap 6. So lap 1 is standing start, lap 2 you're slowing down for the pits, lap 3 has your actual pit stop time on it. So lap 3 is lost to the pit stop basically, lap 4 is your next in lap, lap 5 is your next out lap, and so the only time you actually get a flying start and a flying finish is on lap 6. I always tended to try and save a little bit of energy and on lap 5 I'd short shift a little bit so that I definitely had a full tank for lap 6, so I could commit fully to it, and hence I tended to get my fastest laps at the end of the end of the race on lap 6, generally at the end of the senior as well. So you went away on a high because you just had the best lap. Because we're down into the sort of final prep bits, bike's been warmed through, warmers are on, pressures are done, all that sort of stuff. Mark is fairly chilled, so he's just sort of pacing around, but the mechanics tend to go a bit quiet. Everybody's doing their job, everybody knows what they're doing, nobody's stressing, but there is a definite underlying level of nerves. There is a lot resting on the 2 basically 40-second pit stops. You can't necessarily win a race in the pit stop, but you can lose it. So there's a lot of pressure involved. But I like the pressure, so that's why I'm here and not sat out on a grass bank somewhere. I like to be in the fight, not watching it. Mark's looking surprisingly chilled, as normal.
Oh, inside I might not be, but yeah. Externally I might look it, but yeah.
Salty, you've raced here enough over the years. How did you used to feel half an hour before a race?
Toilet. I spit the toilet 2 or 3 times, clearing out, and then you're just nervous, aren't you? Weeing, and that's it. Just nervous. Yeah. Saying bye to everybody. Well, not bye, but you know what I mean. Saying, you I suppose you are saying a bit of eyes, aren't you? And just sort of giving everybody a cuddle and saying bye, getting excited. You can only, when you speak to other people and yourself, they only know how you feel. And it's a unique thing between everybody who's raced here. You know, it's unique. Totally.
Right, so we've practiced the visor change a few times in the garage, and I've been down to our eye and had a go at it as well and had the lessons. But I know when we do it in pit lane, it's going to be quite stressful, so we're going to practice again. Ready? Out. Right, I'm fully aware though, in pit lane there's going to be a stress going and a bit of that, but we've practiced a load. I think we're going to be good. We're going to crack on and do it in the race. Walking down to our sort of grid slot, our place on the road. I'm not sure whether it's me, but it feels like a different atmosphere for this one than it did for Supersport the other day. The 600s, you know, you're working hard and you're taking risks, but 6 laps on a big bike round here is hard work. The big bikes, they take some fighting, and 6 laps on one is it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of calories, it's a lot of fighting. But there was always a sense of achievement much bigger when you finish the 6 lapper. I really love the 6 lappers, and yeah, right now I don't envy Mark because the nerves will be spectacular. But when he actually gets going and when he finishes and you've got that high from finishing, then it's worth every bit of stress going. Yeah, this place is brutal, but it's amazing at the same time. Oh, we need a nice clean start. Saving the clutch. Right, he's on the way. I'll start the stopwatch so I know when he's coming past. Next thing we need to do is drop back here, grab his bag with his visors, our fireproof overalls, all that sort of stuff, get changed and go and stand in pit lane sweating for a bit. So I will see you lot after the race. As they push Mickey D's Fireblade into Parc Fermé, there was proof in that race that the Visor man can only lose you a race. He can't win you it. Unfortunately, Michael Dunlop's side pod on his Arrow helmet, in the pit stop, the guy clipped it in and it popped off in the pit stop, so the guy clipped it back in again, and as Michael rode out pit lane, it fell off again. And Michael actually stopped down Bray Hill, pulled over, took his helmet off, put it back, sorted the side pod out, put it back on and carried on, but went from leading the race by 20 seconds to finishing 4th. So I suspect there's quite a lot of swearing going on down there. And yes, that was the main story of that race. I didn't have to do a visor change, luckily. Mark on his first pit stop came in, he still had 2 tear-offs spare, so he didn't need it. And then he actually came in at the end of lap 3, said when he went out after the pit stop, he said the bike felt like it was on marbles, it didn't feel right. He looked down a couple of times to make sure he wasn't dropping any fluids or anything, but he said it just didn't feel right, so at the end of lap 3 he pulled in. And so we'll pop down the road, see what it says.
Just on the third lap, went out from the pits, didn't feel quite right, whether it was at the time sat in the pits, you just take your eye off the ball a little bit. I felt to be moving quite a bit. Wondered whether it was a puncture, whether it was suspension. Settled in a little bit, but then over the mountain on the third lap, I had a couple of slides. I had a big slide at the 32nd, and it kicked back on me, and I just thought, well, it could be a puncture. I've got feeling, and by then I got it in my head a bit. So I come into the pits to see, and we don't know exactly what's wrong. We're going to have a play with things, get the shock reserviced. But it's better to pull in than have a problem, maybe have a puncture and end up in a hedge somewhere. There's another 6 races to go yet, so yeah, we'll have a day with a bit of downtime tomorrow, get it all ready for Tuesday, and go out and have another try.
Better to be safe than sorry around here, isn't it?
There's far too many people that have been sorry and not been safe. I'd rather be one of the safe ones. Don't get a second chance around here.
So as Mark's boys tinker away and pull the shock out of his bike, to say it's been a disappointing day for quite a few people would be an understatement. Obviously, Tom and Martin unfortunately didn't actually qualify for that race. Mark's obviously had a problem during the race and had to pull in. But the biggest disappointment might be Mickey D, from leading to having something as small as a visor side pod come off. Must be absolutely gutting. But that's it. That is a day done at the TT. And let's face it, it's not supposed to be easy.